And I can undoubtedly, with butterflies in my stomach, which I never have, even when I'm speaking to thousands of people in a hall, I can unequivocally tell you that this is going to be the most important radio broadcast, hands down, that I have ever done. Now, we have not been blindsided by the secession movement, but it's almost like a bus that ran me over 10 years ago. It's old news to us, but the new news is that it is now breaking nationwide and worldwide and is a symbol and an indicator of the sleeping giant that is America awakening. And the entire globalist program has been built and designed to block what you are about to see unfold. I am going to make some announcements here today, and I'm going to lay out plans for my deep study of the Constitution that can save this republic if you execute them. Victory is in our grasp. People don't know that they're in tyranny until it really starts to get bad. Ladies and gentlemen, petitions to the White House under federal law have to be responded to when they reach a certain number. It's now more than 15 states. It was just 7 last night that went past that threshold. But secession itself is a red herring. I hope you're listening to me. What we really want is a new issuance of the Declaration of Independence signed July 4th, 1776. The purest American values, the purest essence of the United States was secession from a corrupt, distant corporate empire, backed up by military force. We are recaptured by the progeny, by the literal and figurative offspring of those robber barons 235 years ago. We are at the crossroads, and the entire enemy battle plan that we've reverse engineered is designed to suppress states' rights movements, because the states created the federal government, and it is not their right, it is not their duty, we the people that make the states. It is an absolute imperative beyond duty. It is survival. That we secede from the New World Order that has conquered us through fraud, that we declare the fraud and declare the fraud null and void, and then reconstitute the republic with a new Congress of the several states, a new Declaration of Independence. We can't wait till July 4th. And everything we've moved forward with the nullification movement, the states' rights movement, the system has prepared for this and sold Obama as the next Lincoln and said any states' rights movement is civil war. Glenn Beck is saying it's illegal in civil war. It is the essence of America. And there's a new Ron Paul video he put out this morning at Infowars.com that we just posted, so hit refresh, where he says secession is the ultimate American value. America is already gone. We must recognize that, pull out of the New World Order, prosecute the criminals that have hijacked the republic who don't flee, and then reconstitute the republic. But we must first separate or die to then rejoin. We'll be back.
As we saw in Katrina, and as we are watching now in New York and New Jersey, the federal government can't and won't help you in a crisis. FEMA ran out of water and MREs in days. Electricity is still off to over 1 million people. The Red Cross, who is quick to beg for money, is now slow to react. Don't put it off any longer. Get prepared today. The InfoWars shop is the largest distributor of ProPure water filter systems. And now, get 15% off your ProPure order with the promo code WATER15. While you're on InfoWarsShop.com, check out these other great preparedness items. The Aquapod kit lets you store up to 65 gallons of water in your bathtub. The Pocket Socket provides you with manual electricity for small electronics like your cell phone. The Life Straw is great for your bug-out bag. And check out our complete line of Interfood products for great tasting and nutritionally dense foods that have a great shelf life. If you are looking to secure your home in a crisis, you can order Strategic Relocations, the film, a great companion to the book Strategic Relocations 3rd edition, and The Secure Home by Joel Skousen. When the time to perform arrives, the time to prepare has already passed. Get prepared now, so if a crisis strikes your home, you and your family will be secure. Go to InfoWarsShop.com and don't forget the promo code WATER15.
Is a day that will be remembered forever in the hearts and minds of future generations, not just of Americans, but people worldwide who have rediscovered liberty and freedom. We are living on the edge, ladies and gentlemen. This will be the most important broadcast in my 17 years on air. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. We have warned of this. We have exposed it. We have seen the globalist preparations. And now things are unfolding exactly as we knew they would. But last night, at about midnight, after rewatching Ron Paul's most powerful and thought-provoking speech, his farewell speech, watching it for the second time last night, we're going to play some excerpts coming up today, everything crystallized. I already knew it intellectually. I'd already said it on air 100 times in different ways, but it hit me with that electricity I've only felt a few other times in my life, the knowing. The knowing, the absolute destiny of this republic. The conviction that if I prosecute the war against the New World Order, if you take up the info war and discredit and expose the enemy and take up states' rights and take up a new Declaration of Independence, the plans were laid by our forebears. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the 10th Amendment, the Ninth Amendment, all chief, all key. All armaments for our protection, foreseeing the crisis we've now entered. The enemy's tools is a dumbed-down population, a drugged population, a selfish, evil, greedy, weak population. And they don't even outnumber us. It's a fraudulent election system. We know that. If the parasites didn't have the producers, they would fall. And we are now here at the crossroads, and we have Edwin Vieira joining us, constitutional lawyer, at the start of the next hour. We have Lew Rockwell joining us as well, and I'm going to make some huge announcements here and then try to be calm and walk through this. I've written like 7 pages of notes here I want to go over with you here today. Now, this is not complex, but this is not dumbed-down radio. This is a blueprint, and if constitutional lawyers pick this up, if Ron Paul can be drafted, if you put the energy in today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, this is the beginning. Everything else has just been a buildup with the orchestra tuning up before the orchestra begins their true presentation. We are at the threshold of absolute history. We are plunging into bona fide, certified, razor-sharp, total evil. Obama did something off the charts today. He signed a secret executive order handing over the internet to the NSA and foreign banks. Unprecedented. We are now going under emergency rule right now. This has all been planned out, all war gamed. But we, through historical research and thousands of whistleblowers from inside the system, many of which were killed or imprisoned. Remember, many people died to bring you this information. The only reason I'm alive right now is because people were willing in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s to be imprisoned and killed. They killed thousands of people. They arrested congressmen and tortured them. They hijacked aircraft and handed over congressmen to the North Koreans. To try to keep this down, those of us that came before the current awakening, we stand on their shoulders. So this isn't a game. I want to telegraph that to you right now. And what I'm going to say today, and what I'm taking up now, is the most dangerous thing I've ever done, and I feel no fear. I only feel fear that I will not execute this properly, and it's not fear. It is more of a gripping, bracing realization, as if the hand of God is wrapped around my heart saying, don't screw this up. You may be killed doing this, so in your greatest moment of resistance, ringing the bell, signaling the beginning of the Second American Revolution, the Restoration, and the spirit of 1776. Don't screw this up, Jones. And I'll tell all of you this as well. You don't screw it up either. This is time for dedication. This is time for commitment and the spiritual decision to sign your John Hancock in your words and your deeds towards the restoration of our republic and putting us back on the course of liberty and justice for all. And what am I going to call for here? I'm going to call for what is in the Declaration of Independence, the founding document of July 4th, 1776. That is what I'm calling for. It is America. It is the birth of America. It is when it all started, and we have the tools. We have the information. We have all of it before us in our hands if we will only take it up from this inspired document, the example of freedom worldwide, and breathe life back into it and set those brush fires in the minds of men and women everywhere. Let me lay out some basic facts here before I get into the battle plan. In the info war, and the enemy will undoubtedly try to physically come down upon us, but that is part of the historical tide, and that is another sign of our victory. The 1.6 billion bullets, the checkpoints, the foreign troops, the army admitting re-education camps, that's a sign of failure and weakness of the collectivist Borg corporate bankster state. The poison they've poured out upon us, their venom that was meant to paralyze those of us that love liberty, has only energized us while paralyzing and fogging their vision. They are confounded. They are confused. They are believing their own propaganda and lies. But I see in their eyes the seeds of their destruction and their failure. If only you will take up the gifts God has given us, the weapons that God gave our forebears, so long lying in their armories collecting dust, we will resurrect these mighty weapons and we will use them tirelessly against the enemy. We will prosecute a war to restore the republic and run the money changers from the temple. Now, here are some of the points I'm going to break down, and I know Paul Watson and others are going to be codifying this into action plans and articles. Number one, Ron Paul, in the videos up at Infowars.com, has said secession is the essence of America and the birth of our republic. It is more American than even George Washington because he flowed forth from that. It is the fount, the center, the core, the very blood of the Republic. It is July 4th. It is the freedom. It is the dignity. It is the absolute center of the universe on this planet for liberty and resistance to tyranny. It is our armor. It is our mind. It is our sword. It is our shield. It is our will. Now, I will expose the trap. The globalists are counterfeiters. They will take secession and they will repackage it as civil war and as racism, and you're already seeing that. You already see them jumping on it. They were ready. It was secession from the British Empire by British citizens who were having their rights violated exactly as we are today after a long train of abuses that led to them pulling out of that corrupt system to form a new union, to form a new system. Read the Declaration of Independence. And then it was not just their right, it was their duty to do so. And so we're saying rediscover that, reissue a new Declaration of Independence. It may take a year, it may take 2 years, but accelerate the program, the idea. Literally storm your state houses, not demanding more government handouts, but as we stormed them over the TSA last year, and that's what the media called it, marching in, not asking, demanding that they throw the TSA out of our state. Unanimously voted in the House, killed by Dewhurst in the Senate. Now we have removed him and he lost his Senate race. Now they're back with even more votes in the Senate. We are going to force the issue with the globalists because here's the key. We're not seceding from the federal government. We are recognizing and declaring what is self-evident, that the federal government has been hijacked by foreign banking cartels. You can go into the legislatures with the Times of London, CNBC, Time Magazine, hundreds of publications bragging we've been conquered. So we are pulling out of the occupied false federal New World Order system. We are seceding from the New World Order hijackers to reconstitute the Republic. I have the battle plan. We're going to draft Ron Paul. Just a castaway in my own republic, a country occupied by foreign banks that openly brag they've taken my republic over and that they're going to give us $100,000 fines for washing our cars. That's the San Diego Herald Tribune. That they're going to arrest us for hay dust in our barns, that they're going to forcibly inoculate our children without asking us, totally illegal, that they're going to shut down and take over the internet and have a secret executive order do it. Once you get to the point of tyranny, it just drops off a ledge. And the media, I've literally got probably 60 articles here, CBS News, NBC, you name it, showing Fort Sumter on fire that started the Civil War. Union ships bombarding the fort. I mean, this is so amazing, the type of things that are going on. And the media is saying it's racist. People don't like having a black president. Really? Was there secession calls 4 years ago? No. We know Obama's a puppet. They're saying we're going to raise your taxes. We're going to pass VAT and carbon taxes. That's now in the news. We're going to give it to foreign banks. We're going to have the federal government totally take over your life. We're going to legalize all the illegals. We're going to open the country up. North American Union. And people are like, no, you're not. And they're like, yes, you are. Hey, your state says they're going to enforce the law and not let TSA stick their hands down people's pants? Well, I tell you what we're going to do then. We're going to send in F-16s to shoot down aircraft that try to enter Texas. I mean, that was last year. The federal government's out of control. It's been taken over. They brag in hundreds of publications that America's been conquered, the post-America world, on and on and on. 50 years ago, the richest nation in the world, the highest education, highest IQ, longest lived. Now we're at the back of the pack. We have been overrun by criminals with a bunch of fancy propaganda. And Ron Paul gave a speech yesterday, his farewell, where he said, we have state-run media. They've set up FEMA camps. We're going into world government. That's what's going to cure this, is slamming the facts down, because they're right there. Not listening to some of the people at Campaign for Liberty that have tried to infiltrate it, saying, don't talk about world government. Don't, work with the system. Oh, Obama's got a mandate. Thank God Ron Paul's taken Campaign for Liberty back over. And listen, I'm going to lay out my battle plan. We come back from break. I'm so excited. I've just given you some of the basic facts here. But I'm going to tell you this. Call everyone you know, whether you're listening on a local AM or FM station, whether you are listening on XM 168, whether you are tuning, 166, excuse me, whether you are listening on the internet streams at prisonplanet.com or Infowars.com, call everyone you know and tell them to tune in now, because I've got a battle plan based on history, based on our republic, based on our Bill of Rights and Constitution, and based on the fact that we have close to double the nations that we had 100 years ago, because people want freedom. And when you've got a corrupt central government, Mexico used to be twice the size it is now. Not in the north, in the south. Guatemala and other countries peeled off. That is the natural thing, is to, when you get your federal government hijacked, you pull out, then you reconstitute, and then you go restore the federal government. I mean, look, if foreign enemies parachuted in and took over the White House and the Congress and announced, we're your new government, like something out of America with a K with Chris Christopherson, you would say, hey, the states have got to get together to go kick these guys out. That's not our legitimate government. That wouldn't be secession. That would be the states organizing to reconstitute the republic. But to do that, they've got to exercise their states' rights of secession. Not secession to make Texas its own country, not secession to make Oklahoma its own country, not secession to make Missouri its own country, or Illinois. Secession to say, here's our Bill of Rights and Constitution that our state constitutions are based on. This is what we follow, not the UN, not the New World Order, not the Patriot Act, not the NDAA. Federal Reserve out, New World Order out, get out. Look at how they set the euro up to get the countries in debt fraudulently, sign them onto banker debt, implode them, and bring them into a total super union under central bank, private bank control. They brag about that on Bloomberg TV. That's all over the news. They say the banks set up the euro to take it over. They think you're so dumb. This is all admitted. So I give praise to Ron Paul. You know, when you love somebody and you love what they've done and you get upset by some of the things you see some of his supporters in the power structure do, when you count on somebody, then it's personal. You get mad at them. And I've gotten mad a little bit at Ron Paul to get him back to realize what had happened to his organization. I did it quietly, did it gently, but now it's happening. And I'm telling you, we need to draft Ron Paul to lead the Second Continental Congress of the States. Insider billionaire investors like George Soros and John Paulson have recently made massive moves into gold, purchasing what Bloomberg News described as gold hoards. Soros alone doubled his holdings in a single day. Russia's Vladimir Putin has doubled down on gold, increasing the country's holdings by over 100%. With $1.8 trillion under management, the bond king Bill Gross, the world's preeminent bond fund manager at PIMCO, has warned investors of the dangers of QE3 and inflation. And what's he betting on? You guessed it, gold. Friends, this is Alex Jones for MidasResources.com. For more than 15 years, I have exclusively used Midas Resources for all my precious metal needs. Whether it's bullion or collectibles you're looking for, Midas Resources is simply the best. I own my gold as a hedge against inflation. This Federal Reserve fiat currency could go the way of the Deutschmark and the Weimar Republic anytime. In these historically dangerous times, it makes sense to physically hold gold and silver. Midas already has some of the best deals in the industry. But if you give them a call and mention the radio special, they will give you a list of the day's super specials. Midas brokers are standing by to answer all your questions at 800-686-2237. They also have a lot of informative free literature explaining the opportunities and risk of holding precious metals. They are ready to answer your questions at 800-686-2237. Again, that's 800-686-2237. Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, history is being made now. As Ron Paul said in his speech yesterday that we're going to play excerpts of after Edwin Vieira leaves us at the bottom of the next hour, constitutional lawyer, to break down our path towards victory against the globalist secession and reconstituting the republic. I'm going to lay that plan out as calmly as I can here in a moment. If you go to prisonplanet.com or Infowars.com, Ron Paul, secession is an American principle. That video's up there. In his final speech, Ron Paul warns of continuous march towards fascism. That's a Steve Watson article. That's a quote. He said, this is a conscious, sounded like I wrote the speech. I know we're on the same page, but man, Ron Paul really gets it. This is a conscious, tyrannical, planned seizure, takeover by world government conquering the U.S. And God bless him, he told the truth and laid it out. We're not going to beat these people like the media says. Oh, go join the Democrats, call for socialism. That's all election fraud. It's all a scam. 12 to 15, 20 million, the numbers are varied. Of Ron Paul libertarians didn't vote for Romney. That's why he didn't get in, because people aren't playing games anymore. They're not buying 3 to 5 million guns a month and buying ammo and signing 1,200,000 petitions to secede because they're playing games anymore. And I saw one of the top neocon talk show hosts, I have his quotes here, coming out and saying, do not sign that petition. The government will come round you up. That's like telling John Hancock and Thomas Jefferson, don't sign the Declaration of Independence. Here, you see the Declaration of Independence? Give me a document cam shot, guys. I'm going to sign this. This is what it's all about. I was up in Hot Springs last year on a 3-day vacation with my family, and they had Constitutional Women's Group there at one of the museums handing out free constitutions on Constitution Day, and they gave you a chance to sign it. And that's the point. Alex Jones, see that? That's where you get freedom. Telling these bullies, these scum, these illegitimate New World Order trash, we're not playing games with you. Let me read from this that these vampires don't like. It's like high noon to them. While evils are sufferable, it goes on here, people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light or transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed or conditioned. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such governments and to provide new guards for their future security. And look, I signed my name to it right here. I signed my name to this. Sign your name. It is a symbol. God sees it. Print it out, or if you got a parchment one hanging on the wall, get in there and sign it. In fact, we've got back there parchment constitutions hanging. I want them pulled off the wall. I want the Declaration of Independence. I want it pulled out of the frame. I'm going to sign it because that's what it's about. I mean, look at this headline. Glenn Beck says, are you out of your mind? They'll come round you up. My God, that man is a Benedict Arnold with stuff like that. Or maybe he's just a coward. He's got like 30 security people. I just go out to Bilderberg streets, have 1,000 people around me. And people are like, that's crazy, Jones. Why do you do that? Why do you tell folks where you're going, where you're going to be? Because it's in God's hands. That's why. The tree of liberty has to be refreshed with the blood of patriots and tyrants. And I'm not living in fear. I'm signing my name on to liberty, and I'm in 110%. I'm all in. I'm doubling down. There's no more backing off. There's no more playing games. There's no more half measures. You're either for freedom or you're going to be a slave. Now, let me give you my plan, and I want to start out first with how they're going to counterstrike. You've seen it. I told you for years. John Warner Defense Authorization Act says for insurrection by the states, governors, and legislatures. This is 2007 they were getting ready for this. This is a long-term plan when they were getting rid of Posse Comitatus, getting Brigade Homeland set up, 400,000 troops for domestic operations, Northcom standing up. The drones, all of the massive preparations that were going on and being established and being set up while all of this was going on, they said in the 2007 John Warner Defense Authorization Act, it says, and I read it on air to you, that they are preparing to block the states. They're worried about the governor's council, even though most of them are their operatives, because we could take that back over, and that's the logical place to have a new continental Congress of the states to restore the republic. Not a secession, recognizing our government's been hijacked. That's the key. That's not words. That's true. They have declared they have conquered us. That's a legal posting in over 200 newspapers I've seen in just the last year. I've shown them. Paul Watson and I wrote the article, Bankers Declare They've Conquered Europe and the U.S. Our first issue of the magazine covered that. Bankers declare they've conquered us. That is a legal posting. These people are lawyers because they leave back doors, escape hatches for themselves. That's why we understand their battle plan, because this barrel of snakes follows a program to exempt themselves from their tyranny. Okay? Now, listen to me. They've got the military set. They've got the military ready. Rick Perry joked and said, we'll secede. They put the military on alert in surrounding states to invade. Good. Throw me in that briar patch. Let's get it on. Let's start it. Let's have you come in and knock some heads and put army on the streets. Let's get it going here. Not physical. Don't fight them when they do this. Let the redcoats occupy like they did for a decade before it really got going. Let the redcoats come in, let them rape women, speak out against it. If you see it happening, you've got a moral duty to defend the woman. But no offensive attacks. No offensive attacks. Let their evil flow. Continue. They want to start the fight. Let them shoot first. We have the moral high ground. They'll probably stage some false flags to then blame it on us so they can get the moral high ground. Continue to expose their main weapon that we've almost destroyed, false flag. False flag, inside job, staged event, provocateur event. It's now in the nomenclature. It's now in the popular culture. Keep running that offense on them. Attack in all directions, ladies and gentlemen. We've been waiting to be fully surrounded. We've been waiting for everything we warned to come to pass. We fought against it while building next phase resistance systems, okay? That's why we said from deep behind enemy lines, I know I'm in FEMA Region 6. I know the globalists admit they conquered us decades ago with the National Security Act. Now they want to conquer you physically. Now they really want to break your will and break your back and get you ready for this. And break you financially so you go on food stamps and go on welfare and ship all our jobs overseas and use banker bailout money to ship our jobs overseas. Everything was about bringing us down, making us dependent, demoralizing us, breaking up our families, making the general public these gibbering, empty demons that get off on the idea of evil but squeal like little pigs when they get caught in the vice grips of something real, who have no idea what real darkness is, who have no idea what hell is really like, have no idea what the stench of tyranny really smells like. Well, you little fools are going to get to smell it. The weak are fascinated and worship at the altar of evil because they believe it has power. But once evil really gets turned loose, they will beat their heads and pull their hair out, and they will beg. They will beg for justice, and there will be none. The wicked flee when none pursue. The pit they've dug for us, they will fall into. Now, let me lay it out. They're going to invoke race war. You've seen it. Just, you don't like government-run health care? You're a racist. You don't like world government? You're a racist. You don't like election fraud? You're a racist. You're a racist. You're a racist. It's that division with the illegals and the inner city folks and the poor people who are victims of the mind control, just like the general public. That will be the globalist weapon system and their constituency. Their paramilitary police and the military are starting to wake up. But still, a lot of them are such authoritarians and drunk on power and drunk on the idea that they're moral and drunk on the brainwashing they've been given, that a lot of them will try to prosecute a war of intimidation against us. And we've got to hold, ladies and gentlemen. It's like Andrew Jackson said, don't fire till you see the whites of their eyes. Politically, just let them keep engaging us and abusing and stomping all over us. And just document, while moving politically to delegitimize them, to expose them. When they brag and post public notices that they've conquered us, we've been conquered. We've been taken over. They're trying to mop up the media. They put the internet kill switch in years ago. Now they've announced it under secret order. They're getting ready the new wars to try to get us to rally around. The economic implosions, all of it. This is going to be one Hades of a fight. But if we don't give up and keep pounding in the info war, we're going to win. Now, did you call everybody you know and tell them to tune in? Because I'm going to lay this out. The globalists will stage false flags to kill the states' rights Declaration of Independence 2.0 movement. That's what it is, Declaration of Independence 2.0, restoring the republic. They're going to stage false flags. They're going to roll up gun owners and call them paramilitary forces. They've already got petitions to form federal militias to invade as commissars. That's at whitehouse.gov. I'm going to cover it in a moment. They're already saying deport us. They're already saying arrest us. And they've already sold the idea in like 8 movies that have come out and all these magazines that Obama's the Abraham Lincoln, that there's going to be a civil war, and that he will stop the racist. And the media is saying it's secession 2.0, civil war. We're going to fight the gray coats. We're going to fight that's already the branding. No. We're not fighting gray coats and blue coats. This is northerner, southerner, westerner, black, white, Hispanic, Asian. If you want freedom, if you want out from under socialism and globalism, then you are 1776. Own it. Become it. I mean, you know, those of you that have been globalist minions, those of you that have been socialist, you know it's delivering you into bondage. You know it doesn't fulfill you. You know there's a tingle in your heart and in your mind, in your soul when you hear me speak. You want to join your brothers and sisters in liberty, in history, that have stood up against tyrants. We're fighting the same thing our ancestors fought over and over again in different permutations. And the globalists demonize the Bill of Rights and Constitution because even though it was never fully implemented, the ideas that it enshrines are anathema to the despot, to the tyrant, to the king rat, and you are at the threshold. You are the resistance. You are the leaders. They're going to invoke race war. They're going to invoke separation of men and women. They're going to invoke more attacks on the family. They're going to hammer the economy and say, give the bankers unlimited trillions in new taxes and austerity, or we're going to implode you. They're going to then put more people on welfare so that they've got to survive. They're forcing us onto the plantation, onto the slave reservation, onto the control grid. They are going to, again, say it is secession and that it's violent, and go find, you know, goofballs and guys out there on their little farm saying, I'm the president of this, I'm the president of that, I'm the president of Oklahoma, I'm the president of Texas, I'm the president of New Mexico, to make it look kooky. I'm laying out their battle plan. I've told you this was all coming. They trained the military. They trained Northcom for this. They understand this is the remedy in the Constitution. Not some secession where some guy declares themselves the king of Texas, but Texans saying the federal government has been hijacked by foreign globalists that have bragged that they've conquered us. You go into the legislatures with papers with the examples of the news and the bankers announcing that there's a world government and we've been conquered. Their announcement, we've been conquered. You go in with the Declaration of Independence saying it's our right and duty to throw this off. You call for the state legislature associations, the gubernatorial associations, not the new 10-member FEMA Governor's Council that's the counterfeit over the governors getting together, or the rural affairs under Department of Defense, Homeland Security to run the rural areas. This is an emergency reorganization plan by design, modeled after the Mao and Lenin and Stalin takeovers of those countries and surrounding areas. We know their attack profile. We know their bombing runs. We know their plan. All we've got to do is face how much trouble we're in. We can beat these people. But folks, if you don't grow up and realize, oh my gosh, Alex Jones was right. Oh my gosh, Ron Paul was right. Oh my gosh, this is real. Oh my gosh, we got to do something. We got to go do banner hangs right now. We got to call into talk radio. We got to go to the legislatures, even if they're not in session, and go in and say, we know what's going on. Stand up, do something. Stop being a coward. The globalists are purging our military right now because I know from high-level multiple sources, and you've seen all the resignations, that the military said no to this Northcom takeover plan. Military said, we're not going to arrest governors and people. We're not going to arrest newspaper editors. We're not going to arrest talk show hosts. We're not going to do gun confiscation. Do you understand that's a suicide mission and cannot be practiced? It's not practicable. It is not practical. It will wipe out our forces. Are you insane? And see, it's not that the top generals are even moral on average. They understand, wait, we're overextended everywhere. Most of the troops are out of the country. There's all these mercenaries here. You want us to try to take 180 million gun owners' guns? If 1% stand up, that's 1.8 mil. There's no way. Admiral Yamamoto said if we ever invaded the mainland of the U.S., there'd be a rifle behind every blade of grass. That's the execution of the military and the police by the globalists to bring us into total anarchy. If the military and the police try to execute the gun confiscations that Obama and the NRA has documented, has planned, physical turn-ins of all semi-autos, there will be a civil war when that starts. People that resist will be called terrorists. They've got, I mean, folks, they had drones and helicopters over Austin, black helicopters this morning. It's even in the news. The Department of Defense, I mean, they are ready. Okay? I mean, they want to hammer down. Again, so we need to be nonviolent. We need to be prepared. We need to let people know, though, this is going to happen. People are listening to all of us now because everything we've talked about's happened. So when we come back, I'm going to give you the keys. I've told you what they're going to do. I'm going to tell you what we need to do. We need to draft Ron Paul to try to organize through their state movement, Campaign for Liberty, that was full of operatives. Of course, you know something like that's going to get infiltrated by young punks that want to be stars in the Republican Party. Ron Paul's retaking control of it. They need to direct for a calm meeting of governors and legislatures, circulating petitions, circulating legislation that Ron Paul writes, and other competing legislation to restore the republic, not secession, but to recognize at the state level the globalists have seized our country. They're overthrowing the Bill of Rights and Constitution. We are not seceding to destroy the republic, but to unite the republic. They want to build this as a civil war. That's been their plan. They will stage false flags. We enter the prime danger zone. We are here to restore the republic through secession. We must unjoin and then reunite. We can restore the republic if you want it. But the only way to do it is to realize we've been overtaken. We've been seized at the federal level. Most of the governors are globalist operatives who've proven that they're good servants of evil to the foreign banks. Some of the governors are saying, oh, let's not have secession so that they can try to get a job higher up in the New World Order. Folks, the globalists want to wreck the United States and then reorganize it. The globalists want to just have you go along with whatever they say and do. We have got to accelerate the states' rights movement, the nullification movement, and we have to control the debate and not let them, which they've been waiting for, phrase it as racist and a hillbilly claiming he's the president of this state or that state. We have to say, no, it's the Declaration of Independence. We're going to secede to restore the republic. And if you're watching at prisonplanet.tv, I have a poster here that is an example of this. This is from 1775, 1776, The Join or Die, and it's the New England New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Maine. You've got the states right here that were the colonies that were being overrun and treated like slaves, and checkpoints on the roads, and all the rest of it, people being executed for no reason, corrupt courts, everything that's in the Declaration of Independence, that terrorist document FEMA demonizes because it's July 4th. It is the heart of America. It is your mommy and daddy getting in bed and making you folks when you were conceived. It is the zenith. Okay? It is the fount. Now, what's happened is the globalists have come in. They've come in and they've taken control of the head. And then the head has gone into all the parts and extracted the wealth, you understand, to bring it back to the head, so that we've got this giant New World Order head in all these little parts of the states that are actually giant, but the state government itself has been made this little, federal vestigial thing. We have to separate from the hijacked globalist government, and we have to go with the pieces of the states and reconstitute the new head, and then we join. You understand? Then we rejoin. This has been seized. Everything is to explain this is hijacked. This is fascist. Not in word, folks, in reality. Ron Paul broke it down in a 49-minute speech. We're in deep trouble. FEMA camps, mass arrests, gun confiscations, civil war. The states are like, hey, we created you. You've been taken over by foreign banks. We don't like what you're doing. These are all filled with globalist operatives, though, but we the people live here. So we start movements everywhere. If we get one tail to start pulling out and get our message out that it's about restoring the republic and kicking the globalist out, the others will fall into place. It will give other people moral courage in county, city, state government, the federal government. The generals have had courage, saying no to all these new wars and saying they won't, start this takeover. We've got to stand with them. And this will give people moral courage to say no within the big Leviathan head. So we kick the Leviathan out of the country and we restore the republic. Now, how do we get that done? I'm going to break this down more with constitutional lawyers who haven't even heard my breakdown on this yet, but I'm just following the Bill of Rights, Constitution, history. I know they're going to agree. You watch when Lou Rockwell's on. You watch when Edwin Vieira, constitutional lawyer's on. You watch. Haven't even talked to him yet. Just said, come on the show about secession. You watch. They're going to totally agree with me because I've studied this deeply. This is the path. This is what our forebears gave us. It is secession because the federal government's gone. It's captured. We have to secede from that fraud, the Federal Reserve occupied government, to then recombine under the Bill of Rights and Constitution. Don't let them try to rewrite something bad in this new thing. They'll try that too. That's another attack we've got to worry about. Neocon, Benedict, Bex, and others are running around right now saying, don't sign petitions that go to Obama, you'll get on a list. Oh, there's 1,200,000 people now on a list. Hey, let's put everybody on the list. Again, it's a public declaration that we don't agree with being told we're socialist slaves to foreign banks for banker bailouts and for the new socialist hordes that have almost got the numbers now to vote out our guns in a democracy when we're a republic. I mean, it's coming to the time to just say no to all of it and to just start non-complying, folks, every way you can. The system is foreign. It is our enemy. Now, to those that say, don't sign these petitions, look, the petitions aren't even the direction to go, but it's a manifestation of people saying we're registering our displeasure. The real place is petitions at your state level, going to your state house, getting movements going, getting Ron Paul drafted to have a movement, exploratory committees to try to reconstitute a new Continental Congress with legislative heads, governors, and other patriots that want to come create a master document off of working documents that were being passed around. I'm going to break this down with constitutional lawyer Vieira here in a moment, but let me sign this for everyone. This is in the Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 states of America. They seceded from the corrupt British Empire and created their new government. We're seceding from the New World Order that hijacked and killed the Republic, and we're re-uploading the Republic. We're taking their fraudulent software off, and we're saying we're going to install this, and we're going to stand on this. Let's see you try to call us terrorists and traitors. Can anybody understand that? I'm going to sign it. See, John Hancock, it was a death warrant And many people lost their families, lost everything that signed this. I'm going back to July 4, 1776, because the neocons are saying, don't you dare sign these. And I am publicly signing the Declaration of Independence against the New World Order, against the Federal Reserve, against the globalist. And I stand with those in Europe fighting for their sovereignty against the very same crime syndicate. I sign this Declaration of Independence against the globalist scum, 2012. And I'm taking you out right now with the Star-Spangled Banner by the late, great Whitney Houston. We'll be back to break down the battle plan to restore the Republic. Now is the time. Now is the time. Now is the time. I do not have words to describe. We're going to cover it more on the nightly news tonight. We're going to cover it more tomorrow. On the Sunday show, I'll be live. I'm going to play large excerpts of this. I want to play a particularly powerful part of the 49-minute speech that Ron Paul gave on the House floor. He called it questions. Excessive government has created such a prompts many questions. He goes through those. We'll go to break with that. Then we're going to come back with his conclusion, how we've been conquered by world government. Only admitting we've been conquered fraudulently. You got to admit you're a slave before you start becoming free. And let me tell you, the greatest honor I've ever had, the greatest treasure, even above my children, because they have no future if we don't win, is that God saw fit to take a wretch like me and to rise me up in all the things that happened in my life to prepare me for this moment of what we're beginning now. The bell cannot be unrung. To know with surety that we're going to win. If God be with us, who can stand against us? And it's time for everyone who's in thought and everything else to repent before God. I even repent for nasty things I've said about Glenn Beck. I should have responded to him more gentlemanly. I apologize for when he said bad things about me being worldly. We don't have time for this. We don't have time to fight with each other anymore. We don't have time for all this petty stuff. We have got to come together, all of us. So I repent for my trespasses. Do you repent for yours? All of my enemies out there. Please come in for the big win. Please realize how much trouble we're in. Realize how much danger we're in. These globalists are dangerous. We have to get involved now. We have to get aggressive now. We have to go out and wake up everybody we can now. And then we come back in the next segment, his conclusion. You know, we've put, with this show, eugenics back on the map. We've put the fact that we're conquered on the map with that nomenclature. The truth. The truth will set us free. Admit how far we've fallen. Admit how pathetic we've gotten. Only then can we rise again. And Ron Paul is now getting more hardcore because that's all he can do. Now that Ron Paul's leaving Congress, now that his son's in the Senate, all this, Ron Paul, it's time to come out both barrels. I know you're a man after my own heart. I know you know what I know. Say it all. Lay it out. Throw yourself against the New World Order, and all of us will as well. And let all the rest of the Campaign for Liberty establishment types that have infiltrated, let them hit the streets. They're already getting their big Republican jobs. I know you've purged them. Good. Good. Because there is no future now. All in. Here's part of Ron Paul's speech. We'll go to break and finish up with the rest of it. Here he is saying some questions, and he lists the incredible tyranny we're under. Then I have some other points. Here it is.
I have a few questions. Excessive government has created such a mess, it prompts many questions. Why are sick people who use medical marijuana put in prison? Why does the federal government restrict the drinking of raw milk? Why can't American manufacturers rope and other products from hemp? Why are Americans not allowed to use gold and silver as legal tender as mandated by the Constitution? Why is Germany concerned enough to consider repatriating their gold held by the Fed for her in New York? Is it that the trust in the U.S. and dollar supremacy beginning to wane? Why do our political leaders believe it's necessary to thoroughly audit? Why do our political leaders believe it's unnecessary to thoroughly audit our own gold? Why can't Americans decide which type of light bulbs they can buy? Why is it the TSA permitted to abuse the rights of any American traveling by air? Why should there be mandatory sentences, even up to life, for crimes without victims, as our drug laws require? Why have we allowed the federal government to regulate commodes in our homes? Why is it political suicide for anyone to criticize AIPAC? Why haven't we given up on the drug war, since it's an obvious failure and violates the people's rights? Has nobody noticed that the authorities can't even keep drugs out of the prisons? How can making our entire society a prison solve the problem? Why do we sacrifice so much getting necessarily involved in border disputes and civil strife around the world and ignore the root cause of the most dangerous, deadly border in the world, the one between Mexico and the United States? Why does Congress willingly give up its prerogatives to the executive branch? Why does changing the party in power never change policy? Could it be that the views of both parties are essentially the same? Why did the big banks, the large corporations, and foreign banks and foreign central banks get bailed out in 2008, and the middle class lost their jobs and their homes? Why do so many in the government and the federal officials believe that creating money out of thin air creates wealth? Why do so many accept the deeply flawed principle that government bureaucrats and politicians can protect us from ourselves without totally destroying the principle of liberty? Why can't people understand that?
We're going to come back and finish up the why part of this, and then we're going to get to the most powerful. The whole thing, though, he says we have a cancerous group of psychopaths. That's a quote. Running things. I mean, he lays it all out. World government, we're conquered. It is unbelievable 49 minutes. And we're just going to cover it and cover it and cover it. Ron Paul is standing up. I mean, it's time to go 110% into the eye of the enemy. You are living history. And I can't believe they have national talk show hosts, not just one, but multiple ones now, openly saying, don't sign petitions, they'll put you on a list, they'll come get you. Come get me. The war has already begun. It's an info war. The enemy wants to make it physical. Strike me down. I'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine in the idea. I'm not going to live as a slave, okay? I mean, these globalists are nasty folks. These are eugenicists. They've got a covert war going against us, an undeclared secret war with the chemicals and biologicals in our food and water. We're far gone. We need to get back in their face. All of you people that serve the system, you're victims as well, you fools. We've got a breakaway civilization of technocrats that think they're going to be able to take everything over. Man, we're in trouble. Why did large banks, large corporations, and foreign banks and foreign central banks get bailed out in 2008 and the middle class lost their jobs and their homes? Let's continue with this out the rest of this segment. Then coming up after Lew Rockwell and others, I'm gonna play about 5 minutes where he has his summation. And boy, he breaks down that we're under global government, unelected global government run by eugenicists. Let's go ahead and go back to his questions. Here it is. Without totally destroying the principle of liberty. Why can't people understand that war always destroys wealth and liberty? Why is there so little concern for the executive order that gives the president authority to establish a kill list, including American citizens, of those targeted for assassination? Why is patriotism thought to be blind loyalty to the government and the politicians who run it, rather than loyalty to the principles of liberty and support for the people? Real patriotism is a willingness to challenge the government when it's wrong. Why is it claimed that if people won't or can't take care of their own needs, that people in government are able to do it for them? Why did we ever give the government a safe haven for initiating violence against the people? Why do so many members defend free markets but not civil liberties? Why do so many members defend civil liberties
but not free markets. Aren't they the same? Why don't more defend both economic liberty and personal liberty? Why are there not more individuals who seek to intellectually influence others to bring about positive changes, those who seek power, changes, than those who seek power to force others to obey their commands? Why does the use of religion to support a social gospel and preemptive wars, both of which require authoritarians to use violence or the threat of violence, go unchallenged? Aggression and forced redistribution of wealth has nothing to do with the teachings of the world's great religions. Why do we allow the government and the Federal Reserve to disseminate false information dealing with both economic and foreign policy? Why is democracy held in such high esteem when it's the enemy of the minority and makes all rights relative to the dictates of the majority? Why should anyone be surprised that Congress has no credibility since there's such a disconnect between what politicians say and what they do? Is there any explanation for all the deception, the unhappiness, the fear of the future, the loss of confidence in our leaders,
yes,
the distrust and the anger and frustration?
Because we're under great evil.
Yes, there is.
All right, we're going to be playing excerpts throughout the nightly news tonight. Tomorrow, the Sunday show. I want to play about a 3-4 minute clip before we get Lew Rockwell on to talk about the secession movement and the threats that are flying from the feds and their cohorts who want to have a military conflict with the American people. The socialists on their sites are, it's time to arrest them. It's time to go in with the militias. We'll take everything they've got and redistribute it. And these are all like these little spindly-necked wimps who couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag. You dirty little commies, go ahead and try to start a fight and see what happens to you. You make me want to throw up how you work for the foreign banks and for every 3 shillings the New World Order gets, you get 1. I mean, it's disgusting how you've sold everything out and your socialism and your fake moral high ground and the rest of it. It's just unbelievable what parasites you are. But I want to play Ron Paul here in his summation from his speech because he talks about world government and how we're under world government now commanding our military. And then we'll go to Lew Rockwell of LewRockwell.com. Here is Ron Paul's conclusion to the 49-minute powerhouse speech that's up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Here it is.
In conclusion, what are the greatest dangers that the American people face today that impede the goal of a free society? There are 5. The continuous attack on our civil liberties, which threaten the rule of law and our ability to resist the onrush of tyranny. Number 2, violent anti-Americanism that has engulfed the world. Because the phenomenon of blowback is not understood or denied, our foreign policy is destined to keep us involved in many wars that we have no business being in. National bankruptcy and a greater threat to our national security will result. Number 3, the ease in which we go to war, without a declaration by Congress, but accepting international authority from the UN or NATO, even for preemptive wars, otherwise known as aggression. A financial political crisis as a Number 4, a financial political crisis as a consequence of excessive debt, unfunded liabilities, spending, bailouts, and gross discrepancy in wealth distribution going from the middle class to the rich. The danger of central economic planning by the Federal Reserve must be understood. World government taking over local and U.S. sovereignty by getting involved in the issues of war, welfare, trade, banking, a world currency, taxes, property, ownership, and private ownership of guns must be addressed. Happily, there's an answer for these very dangerous trends. What a wonderful world it would be if everyone accepted the simple moral premise of rejecting all acts of aggression. The retort to such a suggestion is always, it's too simplistic, too idealistic, impractical, naive, utopian, dangerous, and unrealistic to strive for such an ideal. The answer to that is that for thousands of years, the acceptance of government force to rule over the people at the sacrifice of liberty was considered moral and the only available option for achieving peace and prosperity. What could be more utopian than that myth? Considering the results, especially looking at the state-sponsored killing by nearly every government during the 20th century, estimated to be in the hundreds of millions of people. It's time to reconsider this grant of authority to the state. No good has ever come from granting monopoly power to the state to use aggression.
We are going to air all of this on the Sunday radio show over 2 hours. I'm going to be there playing 5-minute clips, commenting. It is the greatest political speech that I've ever seen, because it's not political. It's about reality. Ron Paul is calling for a return of reality and sanity, and I've never been more proud to know Ron Paul. I've never been more proud to know he's right, and historically the collectivism, despite all its promises, is a nightmare. And how he indicted the mega banks taking us over, the world government, the preparations for mass arrest. He laid it out and said, folks, we have psychopathic authoritarians. These are quotes. I mean, this is the speech that I would like to write, because I'm always wanting to do a whole film just breaking down the continuum of it. And he's done it. And I have announced, that's why today I had an epiphany last night. I knew the states' right movement was what the globalists were preparing for, because they know it's the constitutional remedy. They're spinning secession like it's the Civil War and racist, and saying there's going to be violence and that Obama needs to ride in like Lincoln and arrest people. This is petitions at the White House now. I mean, I've got them right here where they say arrest us, all this. This isn't even what I'd call secession. It's the states saying the federal government sold out to foreign corporate interests, the globalist world government, now commanding our military, NATO. They brag in the newspaper, we've been conquered by foreign banks. We've got to have Ron Paul go out with that message, with Campaign for Liberty, that knows where all the patriots are at. Have competing ideas for a reissuance of the original Declaration of Independence, with a battle plan to say, you're illegitimate, Federal Reserve, you've hijacked the country, you've now got governing power under the Dodd-Frank bill. I mean, we're in trouble. And we repudiate this. And what it is it's a platform to challenge them, and then people see legitimacy in government. So through the states, even though they're more legitimate than the feds, they're still a problem. We can literally beat these people. It's the best platform. It needs to be led by Ron Paul, as I said in the first hour, Lew Rockwell, Edwin Vieira, Bruce Fein, and other constitutional lawyers, and men of true integrity. Okay? There's some women out there that have fought tyranny with integrity. I'm not even saying I'm in this rodeo, but I've rung the bell, and I know this is the battle plan, and this is the way to go. We have to offensively, because there's a hunger. Now it's 1.3 million signatures. All 50 states are about to qualify for a White House response. Sure, you don't go to the government, the feds, and say, give up your power. But it's tacking the articles on the door. It's letting them know. It's a Declaration of Independence by the people, that we're not going to be slaves under socialism for the blue states, all sucking their thumbs. And we don't want the Republican governors either telling us go along who are squealing. But again, they're going to spin this. We're going to Lew Rockwell. I don't know what his take is going to be on this, but I think it'll be with me, because it's constitutional, it's historical, it's a reissuance of the Declaration of Independence, it's a re-upload of that, but the feds have been seized by globalists. It's totally special interest. As Ron Paul said, we have to start with states that have enough moral people and enough producers left to stand up and say, I'm not a slave. It's the new civil rights movement. It's the real civil rights movement. We are going to have the states stand up with petitions at the legislature, legislatures voting to say full annulment. We do not recognize you anymore. We are America. We are the republic. So not even secession. It's pulling out of the occupied federal government to reestablish the republic. Now, again, we have to get our own petitions, not that they matter at the federal level, except in the image. The whole world's a stage, each of us players upon it. It's a real stage with life and death, but it's how you present it. And so we need Lew Rockwell to come up with ideas. Ron Paul must put on the mantle, as constitutional lawyer Vieira said, who advises Paul. He totally agreed with my plan. We must launch it now. The flood has come. We must surf this thing, or it's over. They're going to start a civil war. Okay, they're coming for you. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.